we're going to kick this thing off. Once again, I want to say welcome. Thank you for joining our Butterfly Experience Transformation podcast, if you will. This, I think, is week 5 of the Completion and Purpose series. Thank you for joining. You could have spent your afternoon anywhere else, and you chose to spend it with us, so we do appreciate it. Just want to kind of go around the room. Please announce your name and where you're calling in from, if you will. We'll start with Dr. Brown.
That's my mother. She just observing. She don't even know. She probably don't even know how to speak. That's Clarice Brown, Dr. Clarice Brown. She is chiming in from Churchton, Maryland.
Thank you and welcome. Khadijah.
That's me. I'm Khadijah Brown. I'm chiming in from Lothian, Maryland.
Okay, Dr. Lyle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janice Lyle from St. Helena Island, South Carolina.
Welcome. Dr. Clark.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Clark from Charlotte, North Carolina, originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Welcome. Dr. Conway.
Hello, everyone. I'm Fran Conway, hailing from New Jersey.
Welcome. Dr. Zimmerman.
I'm Paulette Zimmerman, Forest Hills, New York.
As long as we're all going together.
Welcome. Andy.
Hi.
Hold on, please. Let me mute. Let's mute a few people.
Okay.
Okay, Sandy, please. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. This is Sandra Davis coming from Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome. Ola Day. I hope I got it right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olaide. I'm calling in from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay, welcome. Is it Valerie? Am I Thornton? Or am I pronouncing it wrong?
We met her at the farmer's market.
Okay.
That we worked.
Are you there, Valerie? Okay, we'll come back.
I'm sorry. Are you talking to me? My name is Valori.
Valori, I'm sorry. Apologize. Please introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling me from.
Sure. I'm so sorry. I do apologize. My name is Valori Thornton. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, I do live in South Carolina, and I met Mateel probably a couple of weeks ago, and she sent me this invite, and I thought I would just hop on to kind of connect with you guys.
Welcome. You're welcome. I remember you.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you.
Bridget, if you're there.
I am. My name is Bridget Weidman, and I'm from Piedmont, South Carolina.
Welcome. Sheila, can you hear us? Okay.
It says connecting to audio.
Connecting. Okay. Arlene.
Hi.
Name, where you calling in from, young lady?
I am calling in from Maryland, Elkridge, Maryland.
Welcome. Okay. Once again, we just want to, like I said, welcome you all to this. Sheila, are you there? Can you hear us?
Oh, I just got back. I just went and get some chicken noodle soup. Still not feeling well. So I'm here.
And where are you calling in from?
Pennsylvania, Goldsboro.
Welcome.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, thank you again for coming up. And I want to hand this over to Mateel.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It's so good to have you here. Got 2 people here originally from Philly, like me. So it's nice to have the city of brotherly love in the house. We are thrilled today to kick off to the latest version of our series. And like Alex said, I think this is, you said number 5?
Of Completion and Purpose.
Yes. And so for those of you who've been with us from the beginning, you have to hear the broken record that you've been hearing every session. But for those of you who are new, we just want to let you know how this all got started many, many months ago when we first all sort of like started sheltering in place to stay safe with the pandemic. One of Alex's clients asked us a question, and it was easiest to answer the question by pulling everybody together because we knew a lot of other people wanted to know the answer. So long story short, that became our first workshop. And then we kept going into a series, and we have built this series of free workshops on Saturday afternoons, because a lot of people are still home, as a way to just keep people inspired. And we have built it around the concept of transformation on 5 steps: change your mindset, take action, endure pain, completion, and peace and purpose. And so what we've done is we've brought in some wonderful speakers over the past few months to speak on those themes. And so we're excited to do the same thing today. And so today's workshop fits in with this last part of the series, last part of our framework, that has to do with setting a goal, something you want to pursue, and then actually finishing it and actually getting to experience what it feels like, not only to finish, but to step into a state of peace and living your purpose. And so we're going to get today's speaker introduced in a moment, but what we've always done, and today is no exception, is we give Alex a chance to talk for a couple of minutes about the topic, because he is a full-time personal trainer, which means he is in the business of transformation, helping people become a better version of themselves, the best version of themselves. And even though everything we talk about is not about health and fitness and weight loss, the same concepts apply. And so Alex, as we are getting close to wrapping up our series, I think we have one more after today.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in this, we've been for weeks now in this space about completion and getting to experience a sense of peace and purpose. And today's speaker is going to talk about being yourself, being authentic and unapologetically. What comes up for you as a trainer when you think about this?
A couple of things. It's really kind of owning the space that you are and identifying the space that you are in currently. We all have a journey, and we all have to go through taking action and enduring pain and hopefully completing whatever our task is, wherever our journey takes us to completion. But it's the work that happens during that process, being able to endure pain, being able to go through those rough times, being non-negotiable. With me as a personal trainer, I see it all the time where people are excited about starting, and when they hit a bump in the road or the scale doesn't go the way they want it to go, or it doesn't happen fast enough, or life just happens, too many of us just kind of quit. They peter out, and then nothing comes of it. But we all want to see completion. We all want to achieve our goals, but we have to understand what that means. It applies the same way when it comes to fitness. Things go up and down. It's not a direct line to good health and fitness. We've all had our challenges. You just have to understand that this is part of the journey. If you don't stumble and fall and trip up just a little bit on your journey, then you're probably not doing something right. You have to understand that this is part of the process, and you have to trust the process. So to actually complete, you must be willing to go through all that pain, all the little stumbles, all the life challenges that will happen. Know they will happen, and push through them anyway. No one does any journey, any big journey, any major accomplishment without help, support of some sort. I look around the virtual room here and I see a whole lot of achievement in the way of doctors and all the other things. You have some entrepreneurs on here doing what they do and doing it well. And they will all tell you it was no straight line. They all tripped up. They all had some challenges. We've heard from some of these people and some of the speakers in the past tell you that yes, they achieved, but yes, it was not easy. So if you understand that it's not going to be easy, you're going to have some challenges. It will make your journey a lot more bearable and manageable, knowing that you're going to have these challenges. So the idea is just to be willing to endure those times when they do arise.
Thank you, Alex. Always appreciate your insight, and welcome to Amelia and Charlene, who joined us within the last minute or two, and we're glad to have you. So I get to introduce the speaker. I love doing this. We've had some really great speakers. Like Alex said, some of our speakers are right here as participants this week. And it's always been amazing, just the dialogue it generates and the thoughts that come to mind. And I know this week will be no different. Sorry, I'm admitting another person here. So last week, Alex said that first week's speaker was someone very special to him. And someone during the week said, "Is it going to be you? Are you speaking?" And I said, "No, it's not me." And but it's his sister. So I am thrilled and honored to introduce our sister, the Honorable Kimberley S. Knowles. Kimberley Knowles is currently an associate judge on the Superior Court for the District of Columbia. She received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Cornell University in Africana Studies and her Juris Doctor degree from Howard University School of Law. After graduation from law school, Judge Knowles served as a judicial law clerk and in that capacity worked primarily on criminal matters. After her clerkship, Judge Knowles joined the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. She served in several sections, but discovered her passion for prosecuting domestic violence cases involving the physical abuse of children and also the sexual abuse of adults and children. In October 2004, she was selected to serve as the Deputy Chief of the Sex Offense Domestic Violence Section, where she served until her appointment to the bench. As a Deputy Chief, Judge Knowles supervised the investigation and prosecution of cases in the section. Judge Knowles was appointed as a magistrate judge of the DC Superior Court in May 2010. In June 2012, she was nominated by President Barack Obama to be appointed as an associate judge and confirmed by the United States Senate on August 2nd, 2012. Kim was previously a licensed foster parent and is the adoptive parent of one son. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Kimberley S. Knowles as she presents today's workshop topic entitled, "Be Yourself Unapologetically. It's Enough."
Thank you, Mateo and Alex, and thank you everyone for attending. This is not my thing. I am not one to do workshops or speak at things like this. So bear with me. And if you saw me turning my head during that intro, that's because that one son was knocking on the door, even though I told him to leave me alone for the next hour and a half. So Alex and Mateo asked me to speak today because they thought my story would be helpful or inspiring to some folks. So I've attended some of these workshops. I haven't put together, I don't have a PowerPoint. I don't have an outline. I don't have a mantra for you. All I can share with you is my journey and kind of what worked for me. And in reflecting on this, what worked for me, and Alex and Mateo asked me this, I said, I thought about it and I said, just being myself is what worked for me. At good, bad, or ugly, unapologetically, I am Kim Knowles. And I've not strayed from that. When I have strayed from that, I've been brought back willingly, sometimes unwillingly, but I've been brought back, and that's what's gotten me to where I am today. So where I started, my foundation, which is the most important thing, obviously, my foundation, I grew up in the Bronx, in a two-parent home with two older brothers. And my parents came to this country in 1966 from two small islands, Antigua and St. Kitts, two small islands in the Caribbean. And education was important in my house. It was never, I don't remember it ever being said that education is important. I just remember it being important. And that's what was modeled in my house. School was all we were required to do. That was the most important thing. That's all we had to do. And each of us, me and my two older siblings, each kind of followed that model. My mother was a teacher And I can remember her teaching and giving us work, even when the school gave us work, giving us extra work to do. And we all ended up testing into specialized programs. Oldest brother tested into a specialty high school. My older brother got into a program called ABC. Some of you may have heard of it, which afforded him an opportunity to go to high school in Connecticut. And I tested into a program where I had to complete a 14-month program that if you completed that 14-month program, you received a scholarship to an independent school, a private school in New York. And that school was called, that program was called Prep for Prep. And that program is what taught me to be myself. That's where I learned that it was okay to be myself. And it was an intense program. I learned who I am is good enough for whatever I want to do. That program started after 5th grade. I had to test into this program. So after taking all kinds of IQ tests and achievement tests and every kind of test, I made it into the program. I don't even know I don't believe that I knew what I was testing into, what I'd gotten myself into. My mother was like, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it? And I was just like, yes, because I knew my mother said, you need to test for this program. So I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And I wasn't going to say no. So I did test for the program. And I don't think I understood what I was getting into. I was 11. And don't worry, I'm not going to be going back year by year from age 11 to what I am now. But this was a pivotal point for me. That program, after testing into it, after the 5th grade, I had to go to school during the summers from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And I believe it was a 6 or 7 week program. From June, when school let out, the next Monday, we were going to school until a week before school started in September. So we had 1 week of summer break. And it was school that you were going to. So you went from 9 to 5 and you were having English classes, math, history, social studies. It was school. And that was 9 to 5, Monday through Friday during that summer. Then while I was in 6th grade, I had to go to school. In addition to 6th grade in my regular normal neighborhood school, I had to go to school on Wednesdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 to 5. And Alex knows that because he had to drive me there sometimes. And again, it was full classes, homework. So you had to do all of that work in addition to your schoolwork in 6th grade. And then you finish the 6th grade, you're ready to go to junior high. Nope, you had to continue in this program during the summer from 9 to 5 during the summer, 6 or 7 weeks. And if you completed that program, then you got this scholarship. And I did complete the program and I received a scholarship, a full scholarship to go to an independent school. This was the equivalent of a $10,000 to $15,000 scholarship each year. Now, that was back in 1982, moving up to 88, which was a lot of money back then. It's a lot of money now, but it's even more money back then. So I had this scholarship, and it was in this program that they were teaching us, because the whole point of the program was taking kids from inner city schools and giving them an opportunity in some of the higher achieving schools, these independent schools, because we were identified as kids who could excel and wanted to excel. And it was in that program that they taught us, you know what? You're going to be real different from these other kids. Because remember, this school costs $15,000, $10,000 a year. So most of the kids who I went to school with could not, dare I say all of them, could not afford a school like that. So I was going to school with rich kids. And it was mostly rich white kids. And I lived with mostly African-American kids. I should say Black kids, because there were a lot of Caribbean, there were African, there were Dominican, and there were Puerto Rican. That was the neighborhood that I lived in. It was fewer Black folks, more Latinas. And they taught us, you know what? You're not going to look like the people that you're going to school with. You're not going to have the same resources as the people you're going to school with. you're just going to be, you're not going to have the same ideals as some of the people you're going to school with. And guess what? That's all right, because you're just as good as them. We had counseling programs. We talked about this. So it wasn't a shock when I got to this school to see, to be in class with all these white kids, to have all these rich kids around me. Because I had been told for 14 months after working hard and succeeding through this program, because 50% of the kids who started the program actually finished the program. So it was a difficult program to get through. But after going through that program and having heard that, I was like, I am good enough. I can do this. If I can finish that program, I can get through all of this. And it doesn't matter that I'm different from these kids. So between that foundation and the foundation that my parents gave me, especially my very no-nonsense mother, who I will dare say was very unapologetically herself, I learned that I was good enough to do whatever I chose to do. And I say this because my son is 12 now, and I am trying to teach him that he is good enough. So anybody who is listening to this right now, whether you have children, whether you have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, mentees, it's never too late or early to tell people, to let young people realize that they're good enough. It's never too late for you as an adult to realize that you are good enough. What you have to offer this world is good enough. So I went off to this school in the 7th grade, and it was a small school. It was 300 kids in the whole school, kindergarten through 12th grade, 300. So that means, let me just say, fast forwarding, there were 26 people in my graduating class. Folks there were rich, very rich. They used to walk to school, and this was in downtown Manhattan. So they used to walk to school from Park Avenue. If anybody knows about Park Avenue in New York, it is very, very rich. That's it. So they were walking from Park Avenue. They were walking from 5th Avenue, and Trump lived in that kind of area. Like, that's how expensive. That was the first time I ever saw an apartment with 2 floors. I was like, oh my God, this place is unbelievable. And kids were going, on the other hand, was commuting to school 45 minutes on the subway, on the New York City subway. And it didn't bother me a bit. I was okay with it. Kids would go to Mexico. It would be spring break, and they'd say, oh, where are you going? I'm going to, and everybody had this conversation. Oh, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Italy. I remember it distinctly. I remember one kid saying they were going to Italy. I was like, for a few days, you're going to Italy? Yep. They're like, where are you going, Kim? And I would say I'm going to the Bronx. Because I was okay. Because I was okay with the fact that I do not have the money, don't have the resources to go to Florida and Italy and Mexico for spring break. I'm going to the Bronx, and that's who I am. I wasn't ashamed of the fact that I didn't have the same things that they had. That's who I was. And so if I'm proud of it, I don't need y'all to feel bad for me, but I need y'all to know this is where my world is. So in 8th grade, right, the summer before 8th grade, I read a book. We had summer reading. Oh, there was homework homework that you had to do for the start of the next school year. And I had a book to read in 8th grade, before the 8th grade, called To Inherit the Wind. And it was a book about a trial. And I read the book pretty quickly. I remember getting through it because I did not like to read. I dare I say I hated to read. I did not like reading. It's just not something that I liked then, nor that I like now. But I remember getting through it really quickly. And at the end, I was like, man, I really blew through that book. It was really interesting. And I was like, why did it go so fast? And I said, maybe it was because it was the trial. I really enjoyed reading about the trial itself. And I said, maybe I like the law. Maybe that's something I'll be interested in. And so I started thinking, you know what? I think I want to be a lawyer. So I started investigating whether I wanted to be a lawyer. What does a lawyer do? Now, my investigation couldn't be that deep. I didn't know any lawyers. I didn't know I didn't go to the courthouse, which quite honestly, the fact that I never knew a lawyer or went to the courthouse was a good thing, because unfortunately in my neighborhood, the folks who were new lawyers was because they were in trouble, or a family member was in trouble, or they were in court for trouble. But that, unfortunately, or fortunately, that was my story for why I decided to be a lawyer. I speak to young people now about why they went to law school. I interview law clerks. And they give me all these great stories about why they decided to become lawyers. They were inspired. They met someone. Somebody met John Lewis. Somebody read a story about, civil rights leaders, or they had a family member who was involved in the law. I don't have that good story. I'm like, I did not like to read, and I liked a book that was about a trial. And that's what inspired me to be a lawyer. It's not a very good story, but that's what it was. And I don't hide from it. No, I didn't like to read. I don't hide from it. That's what it was. And that's what I tell everybody when they ask me, why'd you become a lawyer? That's the story. I remember the book. It was this book that inspired me just to read it. And it was only because I read it and enjoyed it that made me think, because I didn't enjoy reading. Not a good story, but that's who I am. So I ended up going to college. I applied to go to college, knowing that my goal at that point, I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And actually, I spoke to my sister-in-law earlier today, and she was like, you were one of the only people who actually knew what they wanted to do when they came in. One of the few people that she knew that knew what they wanted to do with their career when we started college. Because we went to college together. And so when I got to college, people were telling me, oh, okay, well, you know lawyers and you've been to court. No, haven't done any of that, but I still want to be a lawyer. And then I was told, okay, well, if you want to be a lawyer, you need to major in political science. No, I don't really like, I don't like political science. That's not interesting to me. Then they were like, okay, well, government. You need to major in government. No, thank you. I don't like government either. That's not interesting to me. They're like, okay, well, English, you're going to need writing for law school, so you can major in English. I'm like, yeah, I don't like to read, but I still want to be a lawyer. And they're like, no, you get to political science, government. Those are the classics. This is what you need to do to be a lawyer. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I was like, you know what I'm enjoying? Cornell, because I went to Cornell undergrad. I was like, Cornell has this awesome Africana program. When I was in prep for prep, that was the first time I actually learned about African-American history. We actually had an African-American history class, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look what all these Black people did that they never told me about in school. And then we didn't talk about it again in the independent school that I went to. And now here I am at Cornell, and they have all these Africana programs. I was like, I want to major in Africana. I want to read and learn about Black people. That's what I want to do. And I can read and I'll write. If I have to read, I want to read about something I want to read about. And I'm going to write. And that's the experience that I'll get. You told me I could do English as a major because all I need to do is learn how to write to be a lawyer. Why can't I do it in Africana? People are like, no, you need something more marketable. You need something that the law schools are going to look at and want you. Nah, I think I'll do Africana. Thank you. And I majored in Africana studies, despite what I was told. Yet again, I was just being me. Like people told me that this is not what I should do. Nobody told me, okay, Kim, it's okay for you to do Africana studies. It's just that I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And so that's what I did. And I graduated from Cornell with my degree in Africana studies. And I was told that I would regret that decision. Well, I graduated from college and I say, you know what? I'm going to take a year off. And I am told yet again, don't do it. You need to go straight through. Don't take off a year. You're not going to go back. Once you go out, I was like, I'm going to have to work. I'm like, because my mother was okay with me coming home, but there was gonna be a job. So I was like, I'm gonna be working and I'll try to find a job that is in the legal field because I still want to be a lawyer. They said, don't do it. Once you start working, you get taste of the money because, you know, I'm coming from being a poor college student. You're going to get there, you're going to have money, and you're not going to go back to law school. No, I am. This is all I've ever wanted to do. And although people told me, you know what, you should not take off a year, I felt I was so tired. I did not. I had been working hard from prep for prep. So from the age of 11 until I graduated from college. And I decided, you know what? I'm taking off the year. I am confident that I'm going to go back because I don't know anything else that I want to do. I want to be a lawyer. I'm going to go back and I'm taking off this year because I think if I go straight through, I will fail out because I'm tired. And I took off a year and I became what they call a legal services assistant. I got a job at Harlem Legal Services defending people for who had government benefits there. So their government benefits were cut off or they were not denied, whatever. It was quasi lawyer work and I enjoyed it. So even more reason why I knew I was going to continue to be a lawyer. So I ended up applying to schools and Howard, I got into Howard Law School and people said, don't go to Howard. Don't go to Howard. With your credentials, you have a degree from an Ivy League school. You're going to have lots of choices. There are going to be a lot of schools that want you. You have a good story. As an African-American woman graduating from Cornell, there's going to be a lot of what we now call now, it wasn't called this then, PWIs, predominantly white institutions that are going to want you. Don't go to Howard. Their reputation isn't as high. But my mindset was, you know what? I am tired of being representative of the Black people in every class I'm in. So, because I had to be that from grades 7 through 12 in the independent school. And I had to be that representative of Black people at Cornell when I wasn't in my Africana classes. Africana classes, I felt like, because there were way more Black people, there were white folks too, but there were more Black people in the Africana class. So you didn't have to look around. You didn't have to be the representative. And I was like, that might be like Howard. Like if I go to Howard, there's going to be a lot of people who have the same mindset as me. I don't feel like representing the Black race while I'm in Howard, while I'm at law school. So I was like, no, I'm going to go to Howard. And I remember saying, I don't remember who I said it to, but I remember saying, if it doesn't matter where I go, if I do well there, somebody will notice me and give me a chance. As long as I do well there, right? If I crash and burn, if I can go to Harvard and crash and burn, I don't know how far that'll get me, but if I do well at Howard, I know it's going to get me far. And from my perspective, Howard was just as prestigious as some of those PWIs because it had a rich history. So I decided I went to Howard Law School. And when I went there, I knew when I went there, I wanted to be a trial lawyer and I wanted to do public service. And when I was there, after your first year of law school, there's the interview season, right? They call it different things now, and they have all kinds of acronyms for it now. But there was interview season for you to get a job at the big law firms second year summer. After your second year in law school, you go and you can get a big job at a law firm. And I did that. I did the interview season and I got a job at a law firm, at a big law firm. And so after my second year summer, that second year summer, I worked at a big firm and I was making $1,200 a week. Now that was a medium-sized firm. Like the big firms were paying $1,800 to $2,000 a week. This was back in 94, $94.95. That was a lot of money. Especially, you know, I did not have money in law school. I used to buy I used to go to the Chinese restaurant, buy 1 quart of shrimp lo mein, dump it out in a bowl, and I ate that whole lo mein for the week, lunch and dinner. I used to pick out the shrimp and divide it in 10 for my 10 meals for the week. So I did not have a lot of money. I was living off of loans. And so $1,200 a week was nice. It was very good money, but it was not enjoyable work that I was doing. It was big law firm money, right? If they can afford to pay somebody who's not a lawyer $1,200, who do you think their clients are? There are clients who have a whole lot of money. They're not working for the people. It is far from public service. But I got caught up in that money and I enjoyed getting paid. And the whole point of when you get that job second year summer is you want to get an offer so that they'll make you an offer to come work with them when you graduate from law school. And so, but while I was there, they were not giving me the work that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do litigation, trial work. They were giving me all this other stuff. And so what I did, I was like, well, I know I want to do litigation. So I looked up who are partners, who are the lawyers who do really good work. And I went to one of them and I said, you know what? I really want to do litigation. They're not giving it to me. Do you have any work that I can do? And he was like, sure. And he gave me, his name was Bob Trout. Remember that name. So I went to Mr. Trout. He gave me some work and he liked what I did. So he continued to give me work. All while the folks in the summer program were giving me assignments that were not the assignments that I requested. Even when I went back to them and said, can I have some more litigation work? They did not give it to me. Why? I don't know. And I was doing my work. I did the work that Bob Trout gave me, and I did the work that the summer folks gave me. And my summer associate job ended, and I was expecting to hear whether I got an offer or not, and I did not. I did not get an offer from the firm. And I was devastated. And I was like, it's not fair. Why wouldn't I worked my tail off, but whatever. And I got a phone call right after I got the letter saying I didn't get the job. And the letter was late. Right after I got the letter, I got a call from Bob Trout. And he said, I'm like, this partner is calling this third-year law student. And he's like, Kim, I'm really sorry that you didn't get an offer. I don't understand why they didn't give you an offer. I think there's other things going on here that I'm not aware of, but I think you're capable. I voted for you and I fought for you. And that's why your declination came late, because I refused to let them say no until we had a second meeting. He's like, but I'm really sorry. And I really wish you best of luck in your legal career. I think you'll be great. And I just said, thank you, Mr. Trout. I appreciate your help and your assistance. Move on, right? Always be gracious. Don't burn any bridges. So that I think was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I was losing my way. I was not being Kim. That was not what I wanted to do. That's not why I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to go to law school to do public service. That's what I did at the Legal Services Agency. That's what I went for. And I got caught up in the money. And so once I lost myself and who I was, I think God was saying, Kim, do you not remember who you are and what your purpose is? And so I think it was a blessing that I did not get that offer, because it had me refocus, reapply to jobs, and I became a law clerk. So my first job out of law school was to be a law clerk. I clerked for a Black man, African-American man from New Jersey, who was on the criminal calendar at the time. And I was with him every day. I was in court every day, and I absolutely loved it. Now, mind you, right before I started law school, I almost had a panic attack, because I was like, you have been dreaming of being a lawyer since the 8th grade. And now you are starting law school. Suppose you don't like this. What are you going to do? I really was nervous about it. But the more as I was in law school, I enjoyed it. And then once I actually got in court, I loved it. And so I was back on the path that I wanted, right? I was going to be public service, and I thought I was going to be a defense attorney as I was a law clerk until United States versus David Parker. And I remember the name. That was a case that my judge did that I was helping him on as a law clerk with the research. And it was a murder case where this man, David Parker, was accused of killing another young man in broad daylight, chasing the man down on the street, shooting him when his gun jammed, stabbing the man because he chased him into an alley, stabbing him, and then cutting his throat. All while the young man's mother the young man called for his mother, who was a few floors up because he ran into an alley right outside his mother's apartment building. And I worked on some really difficult motions with my judge, some legal issues where the defense was trying to keep out some evidence, prevent it from going to the jury for them to hear about it. Because quite honestly, to me, I heard the evidence. I was like, oh, this man did it. He's guilty, right? But everything that you hear in a trial isn't necessarily all of the evidence. They were trying to keep this evidence from going to the jury. And I kept saying to myself at that point, I was like, how would you feel if you were working on this case and your motions were successful and this evidence didn't go to the jury? I said, you know what? I don't think I want to be on that side. I think I would rather be on the side where I have to present all of the evidence, good and bad, evidence that says they did it, evidence that says they didn't do it, and let the jury decide. I want to be on the side of truth. I have no problem with the defense attorneys and what they're doing. They're defending the system. I was like, but I think I will sleep better at night if I'm on the other side. And I toiled with that back and forth. And what actually turned my mind, what actually made me, convinced me, is as I thought about Mr. David Parker himself. And I looked at him, he came to court one day. And this was back in 1996. I don't know the age of everybody here, but there was a style back then where we had suspenders that matched the tie. Yes. He had these nice little glasses on, nice little haircut, and he had the suspenders and the matching tie. And I remember looking at him one day in court and saying, you know what? And he was the same age as me. He was 26. And I remember saying, if this man if I had run into him at the club and he had asked me to dance, I'd have danced with him. That is what I thought about. And I was like, you know what? Somebody who can be this callous and kill somebody doesn't look like anything, right? There's no look to somebody who commits a crime. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I want to be a prosecutor. And that was the moment. Now, was that this grand moment where I said, oh, I want to defend justice? No. I literally said, if this man had asked me to dance with him at the club, I'd have danced with him. That was what kind of tipped me to say, you know what? I need to be a prosecutor, not a defense attorney. And so I applied to be a prosecutor, and I was selected I interviewed with, name that some folks might remember, Eric Holder was the U.S. attorney at the time. I interviewed with Eric Holder, who was the U.S. attorney, and I ended up getting the job as a AUSA, Assistant United States Attorney at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I was a prosecutor in that office for 12 and a half years. And it was very difficult, even speaking to my friends at times about why I was a prosecutor. They say, oh, what are you doing? I'm a prosecutor at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Oh, you locking up the Black man. That was the response. And my response was always only the ones who need to be. Because my goal was, and my thought was, everybody doesn't need to go to jail. This is not about, being a prosecutor is not about sending people to jail. There's lots more to think about. First of all, in DC, where unfortunately, a large percentage of our defendants are African American, although I will say some of our other citizens who are committing some of the same crimes are not being arrested at the same rate, and being prosecuted at the same rate. But unfortunately, the majority of our defendants are African American. But guess what? The majority of our victims are African American too. And so that was my thought was, well, we're saying, oh, let's not do this to the Black man. Well, what about the person who got knocked over the head and their purse got stolen? What about the mother, the Black mother who just lost her son to a murder? So somebody needs to stand up for them too, for their rights. And so I also used to tell people, and it was hard, and eventually I feel like I convinced a lot of people. And this was something I came to on my own. Nobody said it to me, but I used to say, don't you want me as the prosecutor? I have way more power than a defense attorney. I am proactive. A defense attorney is reactive. A defense attorney is responding to whatever the prosecutor does. The prosecutor seeks an indictment. The prosecutor charges and then seeks an indictment and then takes it to trial. And they're reacting to it. As the prosecutor, I was like, I can say, you know what? I don't believe this is appropriate. I don't think we should charge this as a felony. I don't think because of this person's background, they should be charged as a felony. I don't think they should be charged at all. Why did the police stop him? Don't you think this is profiling? Like I had way more power to say, I don't think this case should be charged. Now, I didn't have that power myself in the very beginning because I couldn't just say, oh, I'm not charging this case or I'm not prosecuting. But there were many times when I didn't have the power, where I was just, a person who had to do the job and try the case, where I would go to a supervisor and I would say, I think this is a problem. I think there was profiling here. I don't think that this was a good stop. I think rights were violated. I don't think we should charge this as a felony. I think we should charge it as a felony, but I think this is what the sentencing recommendation should be. I was able to be more proactive. I was proactive. And I kept telling people, wouldn't you want me on your side as a prosecutor? Wouldn't you want me as a prosecutor, somebody who believes that the police can lie, as opposed to somebody who thinks just because the police said it, so it must be? Wouldn't you want me as the prosecutor? And it took a long time. I mean, it took a long time because people were beating me down to the point where I was like, well, why am I a prosecutor? And then I said, you know what? I had to come to grips with it myself and say, you know what? I'm doing good in my way. We need good people on both sides. And this is my way. So as much, I'm telling you, I had more people criticizing me for the decision to be a prosecutor than praising me. But I stood by it because I felt like I was doing good in my way on my side. And I had a colleague who was a defense attorney. And he said, he got out of school and he became a defense attorney. And we used to say, the best prosecutors are the ones who believe that not everybody needs to go to jail. And he would say, and the best defense attorneys are the ones who know that some people do, right? Everybody is an individual and you got to look at everybody as individuals. And in that, my job as a prosecutor, there were a lot of stereotypes, and I was told that there were certain things that I needed to do. In the office, people told me, you need to wear a blue suit and a white blouse during trial because you have to make this presentation to the jury. I had a thumb ring, which was not popular. This was back in the day, so I don't have one now, but I had a thumb ring and I was told, oh, take the thumb ring off. Don't wear that in trial. When I started at the office, I had a teeny weeny fro, and I started growing my hair out and I started locking my hair. They were like, oh no, You cannot have dreadlocks. And I was like, whoop, whoop, not called dreadlocks, locks, thank you. And they were like, you can't have locks, whatever you want to call it, you cannot have locks. And then I was told, make sure you keep track of your wins and losses. I did not wear a blue suit. I kept my thumb ring, and I used to tell people, you know what? I think people might look at me, they might give me a chance and listen to me like, oh, she got a little flavor, she got a thumb ring. She might actually, she might be a little bit more like us. She's not like all of the other prosecutors I've seen or heard of. I locked my hair, and I did not keep track of wins and losses because I didn't look at it as wins and losses. That's not what it's about. It's about doing justice. So for many years, people told me a lot of things to do as a prosecutor, and I just would not do it because that was not me. I was going to dress how I wanted and look how I wanted and act like I wanted to. And I used to say, they would say, well, you don't want to turn the jury off because then they may not vote guilty. And I'm like, they took an oath. If they're not going to vote guilty based on because I don't have on a blue suit or because I have locks, then they're going to find another reason not to vote not guilty. So I'm going to be who I am, and that's on them. I'm going to do what my job is. I got to trust that they're going to do their job, but I'm not going to let them change me. So the last chapter, and right now I'm just talking about my career and I'm not going into any part. My whole talk is about my career. So the last chapter of this career is my life as a judge. So for years, people were telling me, oh, you should apply to be a judge. You should be a judge. You would make a good judge. And I remember one year telling somebody, I am Little Kim from the Bronx. I am not the kind of person that becomes a judge. I don't know who I thought became judges, but I knew it wasn't me. And it wasn't until one of my colleagues who I actually supervised became a judge, a magistrate judge, that I was like, oh, she's a Latino gay woman who is just regular. And I was like, oh, she's becoming a magistrate judge. Well, wait a minute, what do they do? And I was like, well, she's becoming a judge and she's a regular person. She's a regular person. Maybe I can do this. And so I eventually, as I was thinking about what the next steps were in my career, I applied to become a magistrate judge. And I applied to be a magistrate because it was less political. Because to become an associate judge, well, let me start with this. To become a magistrate judge, the folks who would select you are the judges before whom you practice. So it was about your work. It wasn't political. And the chief judge would be the one who appoints you. To be an associate judge, it's a whole separate group of the Judicial Nomination Commission, who are appointed by the mayor and folks all over the city. So it's more political. They have to recommend you. You interview with them. They have to recommend your name to the president. The president of the United States, since DC is not a state, there's no elections, you get appointed by the president. The president would have to select you, and then you have to get confirmed by the Senate, the US Senate. So I sought the magistrate judge position first because, and actually that was my only goal. I was gonna be perfectly happy to remain a magistrate judge my entire career. And I got the job as a magistrate judge. And as I was there, I was working with associate judges, and I saw I am just as capable as these people. And many associate judges were coming to me and saying, you really should apply to be an associate. You should apply to be an associate. You would be great. You would be great. And finally, one gentleman came to me. He was probably my biggest case that I ever had as a prosecutor. He was a defense attorney, and he was an associate judge, a white Jewish man. And he said to me, Kim, you gotta apply. You gotta be an associate judge. And I said, Todd, you know, I am not political. I am not one for hobnobbing and schmoozing. And he said, am I? You suck it up, you do it, you get the job, and then you don't have to do it anymore. And I said, that makes sense. And so again, I don't have this great story for why I applied to be an associate judge. I mean, literally, I decided to be a judge because I loved being in the courtroom. And I thought this was I could remain in the courtroom, but that it was the next step from being a prosecutor. But I don't have this great story about why I became an associate judge. Literally, somebody kicked me in my behind and said, you can do it, so do it. Stop putting a ceiling on yourself. And so I applied, and I made a pact with myself, and I followed it. And I said, I'm not a political person. I am not going to be going around begging people to call people on my behalf. I'm not going to do it. I will tell people to the extent, because people were telling me this is what you have to do. You have to call people and let them know, ask them to call this person and this person and this person. And I was like, first of all, I don't know anybody, but I am not, I don't have any connections. I was like, but I am not going to ask anybody to call anybody on my behalf. I'm not. That's just not who I am. What I agreed that I would do and what I felt comfortable doing was calling people and informing them that I was submitting an application. If, depending on what their stature was, asking if they had any advice for me for what I could do or how I could become more marketable. That I felt comfortable doing, and I refused to ask anything else. And so that's what I did. And I was selected as, I think there were 20 or 25 people who applied for the one spot that I applied for. And I was one of the 3 people that was, whose name got sent to the White House. So then at that point, I was going to have to interview with the White House counsel's office, go to the White House and interview. And I remember sitting in my magistrate judge office and the phone ringing and looking down and seeing on the caller ID, Trout and Sanders. So I pick up the phone and person says, hi, Kimberly Knowles. He says, hi, Kim, this is Bob Trout. I don't know if you remembered me. But I used to work at Holland and Knight, and we worked together when you were a summer associate. I said, of course I remember you. I heard you started your own firm. How are you, etc. And he says, well, Kim, I knew you were going to be good when I met you back then. I would like I hear that you've applied to become an associate judge. I know the White House counsel. I was just wondering if you would mind, maybe we can meet and talk about what you've been doing over the years, but I would really like to give her a call on your behalf and tell her how great you were, at least from what I know back then. Would you mind? No, I would not mind if you did that. But again, I didn't ask, he called me. And so I stayed to my word that I was not going to go around and ask people and beg people, because that just was not who I was. And I realized other people did it, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I ended up being selected by my president, Barack Obama, and in June of 2012, and I was confirmed by the Senate on August 2nd, 2012. And since that day, so I have now been an associate judge for 8 years. I'm in my 10th year as being a judge. And my goal each and every day is to listen to people and have them feel like they've been heard. Not just that I'm listening, but that they've been heard. Whether I want them to leave the courtroom feeling like whether they were victorious in their position or not, that the judge heard what they said and considered what they said. And I bring to it a perspective that a lot of my colleagues don't have. Now, I will say my court is pretty progressive. Like we're a good 40 to 50% of us are African American. There's a good number, maybe 30 or 40% women. So we have a very diverse bench, but I still have a perspective that a lot of people don't have. And I bring that perspective as a Black woman from the urban streets of the Bronx, as I listen to the evidence and I consider what I believe, what I don't believe, what's the best remedy, what should happen. And people don't always agree with me, and that's okay. I'm fine with that because I feel comfortable in making the decisions that I make because I have a basis for it and I'm very transparent. I say what I'm thinking and what I mean. And I do that every day, and I do my best to change people's lives every day, which is why I like my job. And I will say, when I went to the White House counsel's office, I actually said in the interview, I literally sat down and they started speaking, and I was like, I'm sorry, this is surreal because I'm just little Kim from the Bronx. I did say that in White House counsel's office, and I don't care. That's how I felt. That's what I said. I am who I am. And I try always to be myself. My story is not glamorous. I don't have these inspirational stories. I don't have these inspirations why I did all these different things. There's all these little moments. And I have lots of moments in my life, in my career that I can point to that were pivotal moments. They're not glamorous and they don't have to be glamorous, but they're always moments that make me remind myself of who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. And so my life's purpose is literally affecting folks' lives each and every day, helping folks along the way. And I've followed this throughout my life. I will say at age 36, I still wanted to be a parent. I didn't have a partner at that time. And so I adopted. I was like, I decided this is what I want to do. I make a decision about what I want to do. And then I just move forward. And how am I going to do it? I am a single mom and I have help from my family along the way. And I look for help where I have to. But that's all we can do is be ourselves, decide what we're going to do, and go for it. And then seek help along the way. So I try to be myself each and every day. I try not to lose myself. I had a conversation, just kind of in closing, I had a conversation with my other brother years ago about how do we raise kids? How do we teach them? Because we come from the Bronx, right? We've been out in the street and our kids are basically living compared to our lives, these charmed lives. How do we give them a little bit of street grit? How do we give them a little street know-how, but also have them live in the, be able to work in the business world? How do you balance those two? And that's what I think our goal is now. That's what we're trying to do. And I try to do that in court. So I don't preside over the biggest cases in the court, nor do I want to. I like presiding over the smaller cases. I like presiding, each and every case means something. So I had a big case. In 2018, I presided over the inauguration riot trials when all the folks came for the inauguration in 2017 and there were riots in DC and the city got smashed up and there were trials. I had one of the big trials. And that was fine. And I litigated it and presided over it the best way I could. And then there are other times where earlier this year, when we were still in the building, this woman started yelling at me. And I was telling her, let me explain to you why this is going to work. And she was like, yeah, tell me. Literally hand on hip. And I was like, man, why are you coming for me? And she said, excuse me. I said, why are you coming for me? I'm not coming for you. I said, it sounds like you coming for me. And guess what? That disarmed her. And then she was like, all right, I'm sorry, Judge. I'm sorry. Because I gave it back to her a little bit. Like, okay, I can't say on the bench, this little Kim from the Bronx, but I was giving her a little bit of this little, like, don't come for me. And then today, just this week, in a meeting with the presiding judges, the leadership of the court, we had a meeting on Tuesday. And the chief judge turned to me and said, Kim, do you have anything to say on that? And I literally unmuted myself and I said, I got nothing. And I muted myself back because that's just who I didn't need. I'm not one for a whole lot of words. I got nothing. It had already been spoken. And so I am who I am. And you know what? I wasn't afraid to be like that in front of the leadership of the court. I wasn't afraid to be like that in front of the litigants in the courtroom when they're coming for me. And I'm not afraid to deal with the high-powered lawyers who were dealing with the inauguration trial. I wasn't afraid to be myself. I am who I am, unapologetically. That's who I am, like it or not. I am Little Kim from the Bronx. I am capable and I can do the job. It may be in my way, but I can do the job just as well as anybody else. And that's how I do it. So that said, I think everybody should just love yourself, be comfortable with yourself, because how can you do anything if you're not comfortable with yourself? How can anybody be comfortable with you if you're not comfortable with yourself? That's all I got.
Thank you for telling that really inspiring story. I'm gonna disagree to a certain degree. You do have a very inspiring story. It may not be glamorous, like you said, but it's very inspiring. And knowing you as long as I've known you, and knowing the road, that some of that early road that you were on, just makes me even more proud to call you my sister. So that having been said, I'm gonna go to some of the chats and share exactly how the people have been responding. From your other sister-in-law in Maryland, Arlene says that's a powerful message. Amelia says her son went to prep for prep. So there's the little common thread there. Francine, she agrees the importance of access is big. So many young, talented Black and brown youth who do not have the access. Arlene, again, the message that access does not equal worth is a very important message. Absolutely. Knowing you're good enough is a life lesson worth gold, more than gold. And totally valid. FY says, what a journey. Francine, beautiful, inspiring. FY says again, being true to yourself. Janice Lyle, what a wonderful journey. Talea Clark, inspiring story for everyone. Going on. Arlene, again, very, very inspiring. The whole story exemplifies your being your authentic self and how it served you and all of us as well. Leah, you were yourself and you were enough. Charlene, hard work and being true to yourself. I applaud you. Thank you for sharing your story and for your transparency. Someone else said, it's off the phone. Okay, well, we'll keep that moving. Yes, Francine, again, that's why I love you. You are genuine.
She said, bravo.
Bravo. Okay, Valori, you are amazing. Stay focused in who you are. Again, Amelia, thanks for sharing your journey. Janice Barnwell, Judge Kim, you are the most authentic professional I've seen. Thank you. Francine, again, thank you, Judge Knowles. It's an honor to know you. Leah, hey, yes, Your Honor. Bridget, I love your presentation, Little Kim from the Bronx. I'm so glad you did it your way. And Sheila, I worked in a law firm. You cannot wear an afro in the law firms. I am always myself at work. Well said, Judge Knowles. So my sister was a little leery about doing this thing, but as you can see, she has touched a whole lot of people on this podcast, and we do appreciate you, Kim, sharing your story. Of course, I lived a small part of it at the beginnings, those trips back and forth to Manhattan, picking her up. It's just such a small part, but we come from the same parents, and we know how education was just a thing, an untold, unsaid thing. You either went to school or you worked. But my father's mantra from the day I graduated high school was do something. So you had to do something. And that's what we were all about. The three of us, it was all about getting it done. So what I will do is hush and open it up. If anybody else has anything else they want to
You missed one comment. Oh. Someone pointed it out, that one right there.
Oh, sorry. Another comment was, this story is super inspiring, a prime example of how being your authentic self takes you places.
Sorry about that. We missed that one.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But this kind of falls right in line with some of the things that we've been talking about enduring pain, the ups and downs. Kim made a lot of decisions based on being at the right time and talking to the right person at the right time, getting a phone call here, talking to this person there. going against the grain. And a lot of you don't know my mother, didn't know my mother, but that's the kind of person she was. You know, she didn't believe in just kind of falling in line. You kind of had to blaze your own trail because she thought all of her children were good enough. And here's a prime example. That being said, please feel free to raise your hand and share any thoughts that you may want to.
Or just unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself and just come on.
Hi, this is Rhonda. How's everybody?
Okay. Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Rhonda, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. First, I want to congratulate definitely the judge for her many accomplishments. And I loved your story. I love the fact that you made it plain, because a lot of people, when they come on board and they reach success, they don't understand the journey from point A to point B. So first, I applaud you for the many success that you've created for people like myself, people who come into the court system, people who don't know their rights, people who don't know where do I go, where do I start, and you make it very transparent. So I really appreciate the fact that you have been open with your success and sharing that. And it's just an amazing blessing, the fact that you were appointed by the, Obama administration when you came on board. So also just to piggyback on what you said about being single parents, that's within itself a job within itself, and you make that look well. So again, I applaud you. I thank you for taking the time out to speak with us, to share with us. I apologize that I couldn't be visual, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to hear the presentation. And I thank you, Alex and Mathilde, for having such a dynamic speaker this evening.
Oh,
we're honored. Thank you, Rhonda. Right. Anybody else have a comment?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
All right. This is Zodwa McGowan from Houston, Texas. Thank you, Alex and Mathilde, for bringing on such an incredible speaker. And Honorary Knowles, is such an honor to hear you speak this afternoon. Honestly, and the reason I actually really resonated with this speech is because especially the part when you mentioned how everyone was telling you go straight to law school, but then it wasn't really feeling it in your spirit. And it reminded me so much of how when I was doing my bachelor's at the University of Houston, everyone was saying you have to go, it's best if you go get your master's, your MBA right away. Otherwise, you won't really feel like the motivation to do it once you get mad, once you make money, and then you start settling in with family and kids and whatnot. But I knew deep down, because I was so drained with school by like especially by my last year in college, I was just like, I cannot, I said, knowing me, I need at least 2 years off. I said, if I go straight to do my master's right out of my bachelor's, I know I'm going to fail. I'm going to flunk out. So just by when you said that I was just like, I understand. So thank you for saying that. And really, I don't know, it was just great to like hear somebody from, I really understood. It made me feel really better about the decision that I made. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
You got to be confident in yourself and your decisions.
Kim, Zodwa, not to make your age, Zodwa's very young. So she's, I'm glad she had a chance to hear that from you and share that firsthand. Yeah. Janice Barnwell.
Barnwell, please share. Ms. Barnwell, are you there?
She's right there.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Hi, I just would like to thank Mathilde and Alex for the invitation. This has been just an amazing presentation, and I just admire professionals who are very authentic and unapologetically African American or Black. My question to Judge Knowles is, I have a son who's in Atlanta. He's an attorney. What would you recommend for a young attorney? He's just turned 37. If he wanted to pursue becoming a judge
Mm.
in the state. He's in Atlanta, in Georgia, in the state of Georgia. You know, right now, Georgia is on everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And
Lost you.
there are a lot of, Black attorneys here, but what would you recommend? Can you hear me?
Yeah, my internet is, I don't know if it's my internet or yours. Can folks hear me? Oop, okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think it's her.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes. I can
Okay.
hear you very well.
You know, every state and jurisdiction is a little bit different. So he has to be, if he wants to become a judge, he needs to get in the know to figure out, he needs to find out what is required in his state, what needs to be done in his particular jurisdiction. What kind of judge does he want to be? Does he want to be a local judge, or does he want to be a federal court judge? And then he has to seek the work. Once he knows what is needed in that particular jurisdiction, he needs to seek that kind of work wherever it is. Just like I did, I knew I wanted to do this particular kind of work. So when I was a summer associate, so I looked for that work, even though it wasn't coming to me. So he has to first figure out what is it that he wants to do. If he wants to be a judge, find out what are the requirements, what are they looking for in Georgia, and then go to do that kind of a work. That's the starting point.
Okay, thank you so
yes, ma'am.
much. I wish that he was on this Zoom meeting with us.
Janice, we missed a lot of what you said.
Thank you.
Mute your video. Sometimes the connection is a little better without the video. If you want to try to repeat what you just said.
No, she muted herself instead of the video.
Okay.
Okay, it's all right.
There we go.
Okay. I think
turn off the video.
Turn off the video?
Yeah. Hit stop video and then talk.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
It's a little better.
Yes.
Yep.
I just would like to say thank you, even though you may not have heard everything I was saying, but Judge Knowles, thank you. You did answer my question.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Can you hear me?
No,
we heard thank you and Winston.
Yeah,
maybe
okay.
You can put it in,
type it in the chat.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
No, just put it in the
Put it in the chat. Okay, we don't have too much more time. We don't want to keep anybody, but of course.
Okay.
But does anybody else have anything else they want to share?
I just wanted to say your story was amazing. And it's interesting. My son is sort of kind of where you were, because he is going to a private school. And yes, they go off to Africa for the spring breaks. And so interesting to hear you say that, because I didn't grow up with that. I was in Philadelphia and I didn't have those kinds of means. And we don't always take him on fancy dancy trips, but we take him somewhere. And, you find the pressure to try to have him have these experiences that matches up with the people that he's going to school with. But we just try to stay grounded. And that's so interesting, because we're now in a new phase. Like you're saying, I would love to talk to you offline, because it's a different dynamic to understand how to parent in a new world that you didn't have the background or the experience that taught you how to do it. It's like we're all in this together, trying to figure out how to do something different. And because we want our kids to have better. And it was interesting. So I think that was nice. And I just applaud your story, because for me, it took a while for me to live in my authentic self. I'm there now, but I'm 51. I was not there. I got there about 10 years ago, but to hear you be authentic all the way is just awesome, because it allows you to just be comfortable. And once you get there, life is so much better.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Just another couple of chat responses. Here's a question, rather, from your friend Francine. What kept you going and helped you to remain true to yourself? How did you cope with getting through a competitive system that does not support or affirm us as Black people?
I I just kept going. I mean, they don't support us, so I had to find my own support. That's how I always am. That's how I am now at court. I mean, my colleagues, a lot of them are helpful, some of them are not. So I don't look for them. You're not if you're not with me, you're against me. Out my way. So I don't know. And I think I often hear Ita Knowles, my mother, in my head. It's a job that has to be done. So get the job done. And so you figure out a way to get it done. I realized that I wasn't going to get support a lot of places. So I have to look for the support that I can get. I just look other places. Too many people get discouraged when they're not getting the support and it's not right in front of them, especially our young people. It's so easy now that they just get things so easily. You got to work for it. Work to find that support.
Well stated. One more response, Sandy Davis. Thank you. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Thank you, Kim, for sharing your story.
And then Arlene said, your story is wonderful, and I'm so happy to travel this journey in life with you, Kim. Lots of wonderful feedback. And Janice Barnwell, I'm sorry your audio was not cooperating, but I'll be glad to connect you to Judge Knowles offline if you want to make sure you have all the questions you wanted to share related to your son, who's an attorney in Georgia.
See, and my sister thought that she didn't have no story worth listening to. See, there you go. You're among friends. And we know you are a center of influence. This is why we asked you. All right, that having been said, door prize.
It's door prize time. So Kim, thank you. This was absolutely amazing. I am just honored to know you, honored to call you family. And thank you for doing this. And thank you for not killing me for having you do this.
There's still time.
I'm glad I took the risk.
You all right.
So we have 2 door prizes. And okay, just so you guys know, well, the way we do door prizes, oh, and Amelia, yours is on the way. Amazon said it's running late. So we'll get back, let me know if you don't receive it. From last week. So congratulations for winning last week. We've taken everybody's name and numbered it randomly on this page. And Alex has cut up little numbers. And we're going to draw for 2 door prizes. Both are books. The first door prize is for a book by life coach Mike Bayer entitled Best Self, Be You, Only Better. And it has a foreword by Dr. Phil McGraw, Dr. Phil. So Alex, you pick, and I'll check the list for the number.
Okay. Number 6.
Number 6 is Dr. Paulette Zimmerman. Dr. Zimmerman, congratulations. She is actually in New York right now. I don't know if she's on it.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I don't know if she's stepped away.
Oh.
But we'll make sure that Dr. Zimmerman gets this book. And the next door prize is in the same theme. It's a journal. It's a self-discovery journal of prompts and exercises to inspire reflection and growth. And it's called True You by Kelly Vincent, Doctor of Psychology. All right, what number?
We got number 12.
Number 12 is Arlene Knowles. It's a perfect Arlene gift too. Congratulations, Dr. Paulette Zimmerman. Congratulations, Arlene Knowles, this week's door prizes. Wow.
Wow is right. And I'll say, just judging on the numbers, I think this is the most people we've had since week 1 of the first series.
No. FY.
Oh, FR. Yep. FR. Yeah, FR had a great turnout also. She sure did. And hers was it. She was international too.
Yep.
But great numbers today, Kim. I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us. I know you and I learned a few things today. So I thank you again. I do appreciate it. Folks, like I always say, you could have spent your afternoon anywhere else and you chose to spend it with us. We do appreciate it.
Yes, it was recorded.
Yeah, Tanasha, this was recorded. It'll be posted on Matteo's YouTube page probably in a couple of hours after we do the administrative things afterwards. And next week will be our final week. Right before the holidays, we have another special guest for you. Well, I'm gonna share with you, it's gonna be an African-American sister again, coming from a different perspective, but she has an amazing story that I think will influence and inspire a whole lot of you. So that having been said, I want to say thank you again. Have a great evening and a better weekend, and I will see you all next week.
Thanks, everybody. And Judge Knowles, make